Hamas here, I don't see a closing feature in the bet that follows. There's no Dagesh Hazak in the bet, there's no Shvanach underneath the bet. And so I'm confused, but the first syllable is open syllable with Hamas is gonna have to be a Gilul Hamas. The one exception is if the short Hamas is part of an open syllable, you will have to receive the accent. You have to accent that syllable. But as I look at that word, I notice that Tzere is found underneath the bet word. What do we tell you about the Tzere? Of the three medial vowels, the medial cholam is always accented. The medial cholam is always accented. The medial Tzere 9 out of 10 times draws the accent. And the medial cholam is either accented or one place removed from the accent. So that's another way of arguing that the accent is starting to the last syllable, not the first syllable. The first syllable is open with a kamatz, it's therefore medial kamatz, and one place removed from the accent. The word chaver is one of the best words I can think of for a friend. The word chaver is also the word for a comrade. The word chaver is one who is attached to you. And listen to that word attach. Any word that has the het, the bet, the resh, has something to do with connection, something to do with attachment. Case in point, the word chibur. If you take me from Hebrew 2, maybe one day we'll be able to write a little chibur together. A chibur is a composition, And when you write a composition or an essay, what are you doing? You're taking one paragraph, attaching to another, attaching to another, attaching to another, before you know you write a whole composition. Or the way you guys write your paragraphs, you turn on the computer, kick in that word, before you know you have all kinds of insights. You draw from here, you draw from there, and you produce a beautiful composition. Only be very careful that some professors are like say Garber. I can tell immediately where you get your composition from. I can tell immediately how the AI works. I can tell immediately where you get that great knowledge from. So be very careful when you add in compositions depending upon your computer, because one day that computer ain't gonna be working anymore, and then what are you gonna do? And that's the newest issue, by the way, involving colleges now with students and how the hell they write their compositions, etc. I don't worry about any of that, but I'm certainly aware of what can go on. But anyway, a chibur is a composition. It has the same connection with the shoresh, which means a command. And Ellie will give you the following explanation. The reason why chibur is connected with chaver is because you guys don't write your composition by yourself. You'll have a friend that writes it for you. That's the connection. What are you talking about, Professor Garber? Is that how you went to college? Well, kind of. Not really. We didn't have computers back in those days. But I find it interesting that the same root which means a comrade is the same root for composition, suggesting a partnership may be involved here. I don't really think so, but it's nice to hear. And then there's a word called chevra. Chevra is a very common yeshiva word. Chevra is a common Israeli word. It means a group of friends together. So every Shabbat, some of you have a group of friends that you associate with. Or during the week, you meet for Wednesday night to have a little beer together. The Chevra, where's the Chevra? And when you have a prayer group called the Chevra, and if somebody's missing, you gotta believe their sorrow and their sadness. Where's Max? What happened to Max?
Chevra Hadusha.
Yeah, you believe me. If you go to a Chevra, if you have a group of friends, whatever, somebody's missing, you completely destroy that. That's how a Chevra does. And now we have a Chevra joined by Levana, and Levana's happy to see Ellie, and Ellie says, don't bother me, and I pay attention to Hebrew. Anyway, that's what Chaver is.
I'm sorry, when I got in, I just got a few minutes into you were going into the what are the two dots, the sfana. You were saying the rules of the sfana. I wanted you to remember these rules of the sfana. They're very important.
Well, I haven't seen the word yet. We haven't seen one yet with the shvana.
Oh, okay.
Okay, when I'll get words like that.
Thank you.
Anyways, we're connected with that word Chet race, which is a bear, you have the word Shibur, you have the word Hebron, and you can almost see the connection. Anything with a Chet race as a root would imply connection, a unity. And so we have the word friend, a comrade, a composition, a group of people together called a Hebra, etc. Anyway, I think I was starting this hour by giving you the example of the stolen patach. It's called the stolen patach in translation. The Hebrew is called the patach anun. The Hebrew word for stolen is gilul nun vav, and you vocalize it this way, manuv. Patach is the name of the vowel. The patach anun, the so-called stolen patach. It's just a terminology, and what it represents is the following. A word ends with the letter chet, a word ends with the letter ayin, and the vowel immediately before is what's called a frontal vowel. That word frontal is a convenient academic term to refer to any vowel that's not ah sounding. The ah sounding vowel theoretically is from the throat. Whether it's the patach or whether it's the kamatz, it's from the throat. All other vowels are frontal. A, e, u, a. So that's called a frontal vowel. If a vowel before a last letter chet or ayin is frontal, the stolen patach phenomenon is said to occur. You take that word loach. That word loach actually is supposed to be spelled lamed, a long shuruk, and a chet. This is the theoretical spelling of the word luach. It's not luach, it's luach. It's luach. But people back then would say lu, and then go to the kanta, luach. Before you know it's luach. That's what's meant by the stolen patach. And the first week I met with you, or the second week certainly, I went over where sounds are produced. I mentioned bilabials and labials, labiodentals and liquids. It would be nice if you write that up as well. Keep a whole set of notes. Anyway, by saying that luach word, that oo sound, luah, and before you know it, it got written down as luach. Meaning what? The patach is not sounded after the last letter. It's sounded before the last letter. That's how you actually are saying that word. You're saying luah. You don't say lucha. If I said it the way I see it, I would say lu, and I'll have a chet with a patach, lucha. It's not lucha, it's luah. It's called the stolen patach. So note that. It doesn't affect the aleph letter as the last letter, and it doesn't affect the hey letter. It affects only the chet and ayin. Luach is blackboard. Luach also means tablet. And take that word tablet. Again, what I'm doing is giving you a little exercise if you wish to write about this in your slavocation. I hope you write something that shows something of this nature. That word luach, I said, means tablet. It means tablet. It's also the word behind the word luchot, the so-called luchot habrit. What is Judaism on one foot or 1 second? It's luchot habrit, the so-called tablets of the covenant. Luchot habrit. Luchot habrit is another way of saying the Aseret Dibrot, the 10 words, the 10 declarations, known to the world as the Decalogue, and known to the common person as the 10 Commandments. So notice the language: 10 Commandments, the Decalogue, Aseret Dibrot, 10 declarations, and Luchot habrit, the so-called tablets of the Brit, of the covenant. What about covenant meaning circumcision? Before you know it, you're involved with all kinds of associations, but they all are related, you might say, to the understanding of the sanctity of what Judaism is as religion as well as a people. Anyway, that word luach in a classroom is the blackboard. Luach. And then I have the word reah. Reah is another word for friend. In this case here, it's a tseire that causes the front of us, and so the patach underneath the eye.
12:09.
Okay, and the word ruach is spirit. Ruach is also wind. Ruach is also wind. And I guess what you have here If you take a look at the book of Genesis, and why does the Abe Garber always bring the Tanakh with him? I don't bring the whole Tanakh, I only bring the Torah with me, is because of an example I'm going to cite right now, if memory serves me correctly. At my age already, I don't know what serves me correctly anymore, and believe me, I get into trouble sometimes. Let's just take a look at which you've got something that says something like this. You have a verse that says, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim et haaretz, second sense of the Bible, Genesis. The haaretz hayta tohu v'ho, and the land was tohu v'ho, unformed and void. The translation I have here is unformed and void. The choshek and darkness al pnei tehom, on the face of the depths. The ruach Elokim, and the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God, says my Hebrew Bible translation, with a small s. If Jeremiah would open up his Bible, the Spirit of God would be with a capital S.
Wow.
And for people like Baruch and Hannah, I always say your name, Hannah, I'm right. Or probably for Bush, for Mishpaitis. Spirit of God with a capital S sounds like part of the triunity of God. The Father, the Son, and the Spirit. And then I was saying, you mean to tell me we Jews are also Trinitarians? I'm reading the translation here. Ruach Elohim, Spirit of God. Ladies and gentlemen, Spirit of God is a 1917 translation in English. The current translation of the Jewish Bible is the wind from God. Now, the Patach Anu is still Patach. And any word that has the Gimel Nun Bet in it, might as well teach you some more Hebrew. The Gimel Nun Bet would deal with the word to a thief. Still, something that's stolen. A ganav, we say in Yiddish, a ganav. A ganav is a ganav. Speaking Sephardic Hebrew, ganav. Ganav is a thief. A ganav. Then you have a word called gazlan. Two separate words in Hebrew which imply a sense of stealing. A gazlan, should I spell it correctly, and a ganav. The word ganav may be able to be spelled with two commas. I think I made an error here. Again, notice what I did. I look at the word again. I think I made an error. I'm going to double check the dictionary to be sure of that one. The word gazlan definitely is properly spelled. So one is a robber, I guess is a ganav. One is a thief, I guess is a gazlan. Anyway, just to give you some sense of how words are used. Okay, with that said, I think I want to get started back with unit number 9, with unit number 2. But just for my own curiosity, I want to take a look at these words for a second. The reason why I'm going back and forth is because now I'm more convinced that ganav is a patach hanita gimel, and I'll tell you why in a second. First, let me double check the spelling. And the fact that Professor Ze'ev Garber always looks at the dictionary right now, let that be a dugma to you as well. If the professor is always double checking his own mind, why should we not do the same for ourselves? He's more advanced with the Hebrew, and we are less advanced. And if he does it, then how much more so we should be able to do it. I'm looking at the Gimel Nun Bet. I see a whole series of words here. I'm looking for the word. I have it as a verb. I'm looking for the noun. Yeah, it's with a patach, a dagesh chazak and a nun. The first spelling is correct. Is that not how I first wrote it? I wrote it with a patach and neta gimel, not a kamatz. Now, how do I remember it's a gimel? First of all, let me get this down with a patach, then a dagesh chazak and a nun. Yeah, before I go into how do I know type of thing, let me go over this word. The word ganav, notice the gimel begins the word. Hega capital letters beginning a word, have a dagesh kal. That's that dot in that gimel there. The patach is a short vowel, closed by dagesh chazak in the nun. Any letter, but the mega capital letters that have a dot in it will always have to be a strong dot. So the syllabication will be this way, CVC, second syllable CVC, B Kamatz, the closed syllable, definitely needs the accent. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, words of Hebrew which have a patah, a kamatz, this type of combination are professions. If you know any other word that has the same type of last two syllables, a patah, dagesh chazak in the last letter, and a kamatz deals with professions. So I'm thinking of some words. I'm thinking of the word chazan. The word chazan. I don't know how to spell with vowels. I think the word chazan should be spelled this way. It's tempted to spell it that way. It may well be spelled that way. But chazan can also be spelled like this, based upon what I said, a profession. I'm trying to think of other and combinations. A chazan is a cantor. Okay, trying to think of something else. Ganav, we already told you. My mind is being restricted right now, but there are other words that have this combination. They don't come to me. And then there are words that have the combination of gazlan. If you look at the word gazlan, you have a pata, a shpana, a kamatz, and then a final letter. This two words that have that type of combination deal also with professions. So there are two types of words in Hebrew, where the vocalization itself implying that they are professions. You know, the actions that they do are repetitive. Sure. What about the word dayan? The word dayan. The word dayan is a religious judge. See the spelling of dayan? A pata, dagesh chazak to close a short vowel, and you come out underneath. A dayan. A chazan. A ganav. I'm sure there are other words that will come to mind. But okay, you got 3 examples there.
So you're saying on the first one, the first letter is what? It's
Are you talking about the word dayan?
Dayan. So the dot in the middle closes the dagesh hazak.
1 second. The dagesh in the dalet is a dagesh cow. With a beggar capital letter, those 6 letters begin a word. Or if they follow a consonant in the middle of a word, saying the same thing as shvanach, they are plosive letters. The second letter, the yud there with a dot in it, is clearly a dagesh chazak. The yud is not a beggar capital letter. The patah precedes it, is short vowel, should be part of a closed syllable. The yud is closing it by being doubled. Or to put it another way, Baruch, you've got 2 letters, both of them have dots. One is a dagesh kal, the other is a dagesh chazak.
Okay. So that one right next is not for new. It's to double the sound of the ah, of the second letter.
It's not familiar. Dayan. Well, how many times you come before a rabbinical court? A dayan is a judge, but not a secular judge. It's a religious judge. Okay, people. I think that's enough on this part here. Other examples will come up. Okay, that's what I'd like you to do. I don't know if you did anything yet on this application, but please, if you want your grade that you want, you need to do some work for me and do some writing, and it'd be good to have it by Thursday. If you can't do it then you bring in everything a week from Thursday, when you'll have your second assignment due as well, and that I'll give you this coming Thursday. Anyway, let me go back to that first sentence of the Hebrew Bible, the very shit word, that's another problem, but the word of Ruach Elohim, the so-called Spirit of God, is better translated in the new translations as the wind from God, the wind of God. So what you'll have is this total vavohu, you have the wind of God, and then you'll have this light that's produced, that produces the creation.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I think that he said that the last day of class was on the 15th. So the last day of class, to my understanding, is this next Thursday.
Monday.
Oh, Monday? But Monday?
Monday.
Let me go over this. I checked the calendar. Thursday is your last day of instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Next week is supposed to be finals week.
Oh, okay.
And finals week depends upon when the class meets. Our class meets 11:20 Tuesday and Thursday, and the 11:20 Tuesday class has its final schedule for Thursday, not Tuesday of next week.
Oh,
Which gives you another 48 hours to fetch.
Oh,
And
okay.
to fill. And this, I'm trying to make a suggestion. Every day now, write up a few paragraphs, and you're not gonna be overwhelmed by the Hebrew. And then on Thursday, you'll get your last assignment, and you do one of the, you have different paragraphs to do there, let's argue, and you'll do one a day. And before you know it, comes Thursday, you'll be okay. Yes, Elliot?
What do you mean by, I'm having a hard time understanding what the assignment is?
The assignment of Slavication is to write up the notes that I've been doing all semester, write them down as a definition, then show illustrations.
So basically summarize the notes that we have and explain. Kind of like an
I
essay.
can hardly hear what you're saying.
Basically summarize the notes that we have taken from the class and write it in like an essay.
A
quote
little
unquote.
few words about each one of these concepts and show by illustration.
Okay.
It shouldn't be too difficult if you have notes. If you don't have notes, then try to work from your memory list. Okay, and if you're working with someone else, make sure your work is a little independent, because otherwise it'll be so clear that it's two people writing the same composition.
I'm already struggling.
All right, dear people, let me get back to our safer.
You guys should get together and study at a different time, because she's pretty good. She's on it.
Is my issue.
Yeah.
And some of this stuff is already on tape, taken by Lewis from a previous class. And if you speak to Baruch, you'll get the connection. You'll hear what he did in 65. Am I right? In 66,
Yeah.
yes, 1 minute. Bear with me. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is basically, let me pick up with the Lamed Hey. All right, let me pick up with the Lamed Hey, page 66, and be very careful in what I'm saying to you, because this is not just simply Zev Garber, this is academic Hebrew right now. You'll notice the way she breaks it down, the Pa'al conjugation of Lamed Hey. Let me now break that language down. Pa'al is the terminology we use for the first and the 7 Binyamin. Back 2 or 3 weeks ago, we went into the Sport of Binyamin. If you're not aware of what we had to say, and you go back in the textbook here, where she goes into a whole explanation of Binyamin, the so-called 7 conjugational patterns she explains in English. She has on page 60, page 61, whatever. And we basically mentioned to you that the so-called first conjugation pattern is called the binyan kal. Binyan is conjugational, or conjugation, and the word kal means light or easy. It's also known by the term pa'al. That word pa'al is the vocalization of a given verb, masculine singular, in the past tense, third person singular. That's how it gets its name. And we told you that there are different types of gizrot, or gizraot, different types of families, the so-called shlemim family, and anything that's not shlemim is identified by a letter that's laryngeal, or a letter that's vav and yud, and the vav and yud is a second root letter. So, for example, what we're looking at now, ayin sin hey on page 66, the shoresh, the root, is ayin sin hey. The other verb that's mentioned here is resh sadiheh. The third verb that's mentioned here is shin tafeh. What all 3 verbs have in common is a last letter laryngeal. So we identify the family of these verbs as a lamed hapoal, the third root letter, lamed hapoal hey, is a lamed hey verb. However, Edna does not point out something else. The verb ayin sin hey, which means to do or to make, has also another laryngeal letter. So from the point of view of Abe Garber, the ayin sin hey is not only lamed hey, it's also not pei ayin. It's a pei ayin lamed hey verb. Pei ayin meaning first root letter is laryngeal. Lamed hey means the third root letter is laryngeal. What's the big deal about that? The big deal is the pay ayin can affect the conjugation somewhere in the past or the future or the infinitive or in the command form. Whereas the lamed hey by itself doesn't have a laryngeal letter in the first position. That's why you identify any place where laryngeal letter is found, identified as part of the root. That's my new telephones. Let it just ring. Okay. Anyway, so I would say ayin sin hey is a pei ayin lamed hey. The reis tzadi hey is lamed hey. Shin tav hey is lamed hey. Question now should be raised by you. Is there any connection between verbs that are lamed hey? Are all lamed heys independent in meaning, or are they connected? Is there a kesher? Let's get down some more Hebrew. Is there a kesher? Is there a kesher? As we say in Ashkenazis Hebrew, is there a kesher? Or even in Sephardic Hebrew. See what I'm doing? I'm saying that word both ways, and I'm pronouncing that first syllable. I'm emphasizing the segol. Is there a kesher? Again, go back over your rules of syllabication. Short vowel should be part of a slow syllable. That segol is not being closed by the gesh in the shin. And don't you have the chutzpah, the audacity of saying, well, something's missing. Let me put a dot in that shin. Don't you dare do that. The spelling that's given to you on the board, the spelling that's printed in your book, that will be your standard spelling. You'll notice the word has an irregular first syllable, CV. A short vowel, therefore, will be accented. Kesher, kesher. Kesher means connection. It's a damn good word to know. And as you look at that word kesher, Mr. Ailey, here comes another point of slavication. The word belongs to the secular nouns. And chas v'chalila, God forbid, if you don't write something about secular nouns in your slavication essay. The secular nouns, words like yeled, words like sefer, words like boker. What about them? Their plural has the following combination. Eishtam, Eikamatz, Achirim, good men. The plural of the word kesher is not kesherim, it's kisharim. Kisharim. Get it? It's a segment noun, kisharim. I know it because the kesher looks like the word yeled, same vocalization. And when you do the so-called secular nouns, make sure you throw in an original letter. And the two examples I gave you, the word kema and the word sima. Or rather the word nahar. Let's use that word nahar. Nahar is nothing more than the segol. Only the ayin letter causes the segol before and after to become pataks. In other words, if that wasn't the original letter, then the word na'ar would have been written there. But the ayin letter caused the segol before and after to become sounds of pataks. And the kemach word originally should have been kemech, but the last letter chet caused the original chet caused the segol to transform into a patach. So kemach and nar. Nar is youth, Y-O-U-T-H. And kemach is flour. Not F-O-W-E-R, but flour that you cook with. And the plural of both these words is ne'arim and kimachim. Just like kisharim, just like yeladim, they're all singular nouns. And what about the surprise of the last couple of days? That word poal, the Hebrew word for verb. The word is poal. And the plural of the word is pe'alim. And the minute I saw it as pe'alim in the dictionary, I already could tell you that this word originally was a secular noun. Who would ever know that poal is secular? That ayin caused the segol originally there to become a patach. It looks like boker if you see it that way.
How many segals does a noun have to be a segulant noun? Just one segol?
One segol. Again, you're looking at the second and last positions. If there's a laryngeal letter involved, chances are that sego will be converted into a pata. Which means it's a sega involving laryngeal letters. So the plural will always have that same formula, the shva, the kamatz, the hirsch, and mem. If I see pa'alim, I know the word is a segment. The question is, can they come up with the singular? When I say pe'el, when I say pa'al, when I say po'al, that's really has to be given to you. It's not that easy if the word is unknown to you. Anyway, but that's what you're getting from this class. You're getting all kinds of cashiers, all kinds of connections, and basically, look at how I said it. You're getting all kinds of cashiers. Do you understand my English right now? I'm speaking English, but I'm throwing Hebrew in. I'm Hebraicizing my English. This is how people speak. I would use cashiers in my English language with people that know Hebrew the way I do. It's like using your Yiddish this way. Anyway, people, that's what language does. It will invade the current language that you use with the original, with other words. But who would know the other words unless you're familiar with them a little bit? Okay, and then notice what she does here. She has the binyan, the pa'al, she has the gizra with a lamed hey, and she has the shorish, the ayin sin hey. And that word gizra. Let's just talk about that word for a moment. I'm going all over the place, but I think it's important in the last two sessions that we have together that I try to be very inclusive now and not exclusive. The word gizra. Judge it for the way Edna Kaufman writes out the word gizra. She writes it with a kamatse. The word gizra, properly spelled, is with a kamatse.
I'm sorry, what page are you on? Are you on?
The word gizra.
Oh, Gizra? Okay.
Again, go back to page 69, so 66.
Oh, okay, okay.
In which you have the word gizra. The gizra, for our purposes, is the terminology of grammatical terminology, is the word family of verbs.
Oh, okay,
We
there it
don't
is.
say mishpacha. Mishpacha means family, but in Hebrew grammar, we refer to it as a gizra. And all I'm trying to say is, she spells gizra by Hebraicizing the original Aramaic word gizra, spelled with an aleph. As I told you multiple times, if you see words that end with a kamatz aleph, and you're asked to identify something about that word, I don't know what it has to do with its meaning, but I can tell you a kamatz aleph word, chances are it's not Hebrew originally, it's Aramaic. And Aramaic was once part of the foundation of Judaism. In fact, the Talmud is based upon the Aramaic language. The Gemara part is. Anyway, Gizra spelled with a kamatz aleph. You'll see that with some academic books. She opts for the Israeli way of spelling it with a kamatse. Perhaps a classic example of a kamatz aleph is that word for Yaakov. Yaakov is the term we Jews refer to the third patriarch, Yaakov, who somehow gets the name of Israel, but somehow we keep on that name Yaakov. Notice the spelling of Yaakov. Yeah, why didn't you cite that? Why didn't you put down as part of your syllabication the three patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzchak, and then Yaakov? And see if you syllabicate properly. Abraham. Abraham, CVC is the first syllable. Patach, closed by Shvanach into bet. The resh has a kamatz under it, CV. Last syllable is CVC. Is that clear? The kamatz here is one place removed from the accent, and consequently is medial kamatz. So this word short kamatz, it has to be closed by the gesh chazak in that hey letter. There isn't any.
So when you say medial kamatz, you're not referring to the half vowels or the pata sigal. You're referring to the long, short, or medial vowels chart.
When I refer to a kamatz, the kamatz I'm referring to is a medial. This is called a medial kamatz. If this were a short kamatz, it looks the same, Baruch. Like in your name, Baruch.
Because one's an A, another one's an O. Is that what the difference is?
Well, that's right. If this were a short kamatz, it would be an or sound. We're talking Svardik here right now. Look at your very name itself. Baruch is spelled this way. How do I know that kamatz is an ah sound, not an or sound? Because if this were a short kamatz, it has to be a closed syllable. A resh is one of the 5 letters with the 4 laryngeals that cannot be doubled. So there's no dagesh hazak there. There's no shvanach and niteresh. This syllable is strictly open. And for this to be a short kamatz, then it has to be accented. So if I accent that or sound, moru, then what am I going to do with the second syllable, which has a long vowel shuruk in a closed situation, unaccented? That's not possible. A long vowel closed must be accented. Short vowel open must be accented. Medium vowel can be open or closed syllable. So it would appear. Anyway, Abraham. Okay, so Abraham has 3 syllables to it. The next name, Yitzchak. Again, once you get into this thing, you should be able to have no difficulty after a while. Yitzchak, the Yud letter, the short vowel period, you stop right there, short vowel, closed syllable, and sure enough, a shva under the letter that follows the short vowel is going to be a shvanah. The one exception, if the next letter that follows a short vowel has a dagesh in it and a shva under it, the dagesh is chazak and the shva is a shvanah. That can be as well. But in the case of Yitzchak, it's CVC as you see it, and the second syllable is CVC. And here, Baruch, is your question again. All right, I have a kamatz now, it's closed. Is this now a short kamatz? No. Why not? Because it's accented. Your last syllable is normally accented, the word. If the accent was not the last syllable, then you would argue this is a closed kamatz and therefore is short. And now we have the name Yaakov. And now have your eyes open and your ears unpolluted. Yaakov, as I see it. Yaakov. I begin with the letter Yud, I have a patach underneath it. I say to myself, the patach is a short patach, short vowel, closed syllable. I then give a look at the ayin. The ayin is one of the 4, one of the 5 letters of Hebrew that does not get doubled. 4 laryngeals and the letter resh. Don't expect a dagesh hazak in the ayin. There isn't any. So it must be closed by a shva in the ayin. Is there a shva in the ayin? A shvanah? Now, when my eyes see, I see a shva, a chatapata, and the chatapim. And please don't forget this one. The chatapim follow the same rules as a shvanah. The chatapata, the chatap kamatz, and the chatap sego. Originally they were a shvanah, but the letter above it was laryngeal, which cannot take a shvanah, and so the version of chatapata, chatap kamatz, or chatap sego. So how do you explain Yaakov? Before I even get to explaining it, the way I see the word, the way I see it, I have CV. I then continue with the next syllable, constant ayin. The chatap patach plays the role of a shvanah. The kuf letter follows, the media cholam, and the last syllable is CI and CVC. Here's an example of a shvanah, meaning in this case the chatap patach, and a CVC, the syllable. But what to do with this one? All right, maybe the patach is an open syllable, and since it's short vowel, it should be accented. So your first way of thinking is accent that first syllable. But then you'll notice that the second syllable has the media cholam, and the one thing I told you again and again in this classroom is that the media cholam is always accented whenever it occurs in the word. Whenever it occurs in the word. Like in boker, like in polo.
So Meter Holam is underneath the Aleph. That's what the Meter Holam
Media
is?
cholam is attached to the kuf. This is the media cholam.
Oh.
The media cholam is this guy. The
Is it
whole
is
cholam
it for an
this
O?
guy.
O sound? That's for
All
the.
the time, whenever you see a media cholam, it draws the accent. So how can I possibly emphasize the first syllable, Yah, when the second syllable needs the accent? And this is what you have called secondary opening. Write down that phrase, secondary opening. It's not the same as the stola patach phenomenon. We've done the secondary opening a number of times, and now we're doing it tonight, so one more time. Secondary opening is when a shvanach opens up to a shvanach. When a shvanach, the silent shva, somehow gives way to a sound which we call a shvanach. The original spelling of Yaakov was Yaakov, like this, Yaakov. But that ayin letter, which you cannot say anymore, the aleph letter, which we don't say anymore, are letters in the throat. Come out of Yemen somewhere, and I'll say it to you to your face. And probably it's for that reason, when the ayin letter is so silent, to get to the kuf letter, I don't know how else to explain it, it somehow opened up to a sound. Yaakov, Yaakov, Yaakov. Instead of Yaakov, Yaakov. You say Yaakov, the way you people speak Hebrew, sounds like this. It really does. The ayin is gone. You don't say the ayin at all. You don't know how to say the ayin. So maybe for that reason, the shvanach opened up, meaning it took on a sound which sounds like a chatapata, Yaakov. No doubt influenced by the ash sound underneath the yud. And that's how we say Jacob today in Hebrew, Yaakov, with a patach being potentially closed. So one way of saying it is the patach is not closed visibly, but it's potentially closed. It originally was closed, but secondary opening had to take place. So that term secondary opening, when a shvanach had to open into a shvanach. But you don't want to put it in those terms, then the patach in this case is open, but it's really not. It's potentially closed. And now it comes now to Aramaic. The word Yaakov is Hebrew. Akiva is Aramaic.
Oh yeah?
Akiva, the name Akiva ain't Hebrew. Akiva is Aramaic.
Oh, Rabbi Akiva, so I thought it would have been.
No. That's right, the famous Rabbi Akiva. The Akiva Day School, which is a conservative type of day school, located in Westwood with Sinai Temple. Yeah, but take that famous Rabbi Akiva. According to Eli, and according to Baruch, and according to Hannah, and according to Zeir Garber, when it comes to that prayer called the Ela Eskara, the so-called these we will remember, of the 10 rabbis mentioned, Rabbi Akiva, when they smacked him, when they flagellated him, you and I will scream! Akiva smiled.
I think they took the skin off his body.
He smiled. What the hell are you talking about? As far as Jeremiah is concerned, when they crucified the Lord Jesus, he screamed. Akiva smiled. Go figure this out. Jesus screams, why are you forsaking me? Akiva smiles. All my life I said the Shema. B'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol meutecha. I now can fulfill this verse. You know how difficult that concept is? They're lacerating you, they're burning you, and you smile because you can say the Shema now. It's incredible, this story. It has powerful interpretations. That's Rabbi Akiva. That's the name Yaakov back in the day when everybody spoke Aramaic. And today, I guess people call themselves Akiva as well, but they believe it's Hebrew. It's not Hebrew, it's Aramaic. And the giveaway, well, here you go, is that Kamatz Aleph. Here's your classic example of the Kamatz Aleph. It's a very pretty name, Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva, you know, if anyone is a inspiration to learn Hebrew, it's Rabbi Akiva. According to tradition, he knew no Hebrew until the age of 40. He did not know an A from a B. He studied at the age of 40. And Jeremiah, you have to understand, Akiva lived the life of Moses, 120 years. So for 80 years, he had to learn. But to start learning his Hebrew at the age of 40. He was one of the great rabbis. He also was a zealot. He believed in use the sword if you have to. And by the way, for Jeremiah's purposes, Jesus as a sport of zealots, I'm also in favor of that. I wrote about that. When he asked his disciples, are you armed with a sword? They said, Lord, we have 2 swords. We're doubly armed. The rest of you are probably completely published by orders. You got to take a class with Zev Teaches Christianity. In fact, I offer that to the Association of Jewish Studies, the Next Perspectives. You're going to get the link, by the way, to the magazine. It's beautiful. I'll get you the link by you sometime this week or next week, God willing, and you'll see what the magazine looks like. And if you want to print a copy, we'll have one available for you. Anyway, I told them they ought to have an issue on Jewish-Christian dialogue. It's important that Jews learn a little bit about Christianity and Christians learn a little more about Judaism. That's my next goal. All right, enough of that. I gotta watch that time now. Okay, we're now back to our Hebrew, and the reason why it's so important to know the family. If you look at the conjugation of the verb of the lamed hey in the present tense, oseh, osah, osif, osot, it's completely different than the shleimim example. And what you ought to do is look at the shleimim as given to you. The word I use on the board is shomer, shomer, shomerim, shomrot. She might use another. She uses lomed, for example. And so you see it there on page 62. And compare the oseh word with the lomed, and you can see that a lamed hey verb is a little different than a shleimim example. Shleimim is the regular type of verb in the conjugation. And then when it comes to the infinitive, that's where that pei ayin is going to play a role. First of all, with the lamed hey verb, and then the pei ayin lamed hey. As I'm looking for a board eraser. All right, let's just take a look at the infinitive. The infinitive of a verb in Hebrew, there are 2 infinitives. I'm not going to go into this again. The first one is called the absolute infinitive, which has a formula of a kamatz, and a mida cholam between the ayin and lamed apoel. A-O. If you see an infinitive which has this combination, it's called an absolute infinitive. The example I use multiple times in class is the word bacho and then the word bacha. Bacha is the lamed hey verb, bet kav hey. It's a lamed hey verb conjugated in the past tense, 3rd person masculine singular is bacha. And that word bacha is qualified or intensified by the infinitive in the absolute form, bacho. So bacho bacha means not only he cried, he virtually cried, he terribly cried, he indeed cried. It's a real cry. And a classic example I cite is Esau, brother of Yaakov, who discovers that the blessing is not given to him but to his younger brother. Bacho bacha Esau. Esau terribly cries in front of his father Isaac. It's rarely used, the infinitive in the absolute form, but you'll see the literature today. And if somebody speaks that way in the classroom, they're talking literary Hebrew. The infinitive that is used is the construct infinitive. So in the case of a shleimim verb, that construct infinitive would be a shva under the pei hapoel and a mida cholam between the ayin and lamed apoel. So you have the word limod. You have the words, let's say to write. Let's write the word write out. The word to write. So just look at the way I'm writing it. Kitov. You have the word to watch. Shin mem resh. This is the formula. Then you're adding a lamed. The lamed is that word T-O. The normal pointing of the lamed is with a shvana. So look what happens. When a shvana of the lamed meets the peah paul in the infinitive, which has a shvana also under it, you break the shva cluster. You cannot have two shva iyim, na iyim, two mobile shvas, one after another. You break it by pointing the first shva with a chirik in this case. That's the formula. So Lishmor. In the case of the lamed mem daled, it will be Lumod. In case of to write, it will be Lechtov. And notice what I did here. Do you see the shoresh? The kaf is a bega kefil letter, dagesh kal. The shva underneath that bega kefil letter, the peah paul is a shvana. The tav letter is a bega kefil letter. A bega kefil letter following a vowel, a half vowel as well, is never plosive. So that's why there's no dot in that tav. And this last letter bet is a bega kefil letter. It's not plosive because it's following a vowel, the media cholam. And then when I add the lamed to it, watch what happens. I have a shva cluster. That cluster is broken by the lamed being pointed with a chirik. As a result of that, this dagesh in the kav now drops out. As a result of that, it looks like a shvanach now. This guy here takes on the dagesh kav. Lichtov. I have a verb which has three beged kefil letters, and they change automatically when I went from the verb to the infinitive. Yeah, that's a very good example of showing beged kefil letters and how they're affected when the vocalization is different.
Oh wait, oh, we're too late now. Go ahead.
What did you want to ask?
Oh, don't worry, I was gonna take a picture, but that's fine. I got it recorded.
That's all right, let me write it down for you again. This is Lechtov. I'm not sure what I wrote here. Okay, anyway, Lechtov. Okay, then let's go on with the next one. In the case of a lamed hey verb, in the case of a lamed hey verb, let's take a regular lamed hey verb. The verb to drink, shin tav hey. This is your shoresh. It's a lamed hey verb. And so the infinitive would be, the lamed hey becomes, changes to a cholam tav. The cholam tav. Again, underneath the shin appears to be a shvana. The tav letter is a beged kefil letter following a shvana. It's not going to be plosive. This tav here is following a lo cholam. It's definitely not plosive. I now add my lamed to it. Shvana comes in contact with a shvana. The shva cluster is broken by the lamed being pointed with a chirik. And so the shvana underneath the red shin now looks like, it acts like a shvanach. As a result, I put a dagesh in the tav, and I continue with my patenting with the cholam tav. Nishtot. Let me make the following observation. That chirik was not originally the vowel of the lamed. It's causing a breaking of the shva cluster. It's treated, however, like a regular chirik today. And so if that is so, then the shva, the shin, is no longer seen as a shvana, it's treated as a shvanach. Here's one example where shvana becomes a shvanach and is seen as a shvanach. But there's also the following terminology. The shva that becomes a vowel, to break a shva cluster, that vowel is called a tenuah kala. Get down the Hebrew phrase. The word tenuah means movement. Tenuah also means traffic. As I write out the phrase for you, tenuah. The root of the word tenuah is nun vav ayin. You know it as the shvana. The shva that has a sound is called the shvana. That's a nun vav ayin verb, vocalized in the present tense. Tnuah is traffic. What is traffic? Movement of cars. Tnuah is also the Hebrew word for a vowel. V-O-W-E-L. The immediate question is, what the hell does the word vowel have to do with cars on the 101? Think about it. I can easily say, if you don't know your vowels, you're gonna have a car accident, you're gonna have an accident. It's just that both those concepts deal with movement. And any sentence that doesn't have vowels, you cannot read that sentence. Are you not aware of that? Are you not aware of what consonants are and what vowels are? Your English language has A, E, I, O, U. Thank God for that stuff, otherwise how are you gonna read English? Hebrew doesn't use vowels anymore. So what if I write the word J-W-S-H? How would I read that word?
Jewish.
Flesh.
Yeah, you know it as Jewish because you somehow know the word is Jewish.
Hey, some
But
people
what
talk
if
like
the
that.
word is not known to you, for God's sakes? Do you understand the different possibilities that could come out of something like that? JW itself. Can anybody just read that word as Jew? Why not the word Jew? Get it? What makes the distinction? Well, because we're familiar. Well, how do you know you're familiar? You don't know I have in mind the word Jew. I have in mind the word Jew, maybe. In a sentence, maybe the sentence can help you know it's the word Jew I have in mind or the word Jew I have in mind. That's why vowels are so important. And that's why the word Tnuah, movement, meaning the movement of the language depends upon the vowel. So the word Tnuah is a Hebrew word for vowel, as well as traffic. And it deals with the concept of motion, hence the word shvana. Anyway, that particular vowel to break the shva cluster gets a name called Tnuah Kala, the so-called light vowel. A light vowel means it's a vowel, but its original function wasn't to be there to begin with. It's somehow forced into coming into being to break a cluster. It's called a Tnuah Kala, the light vowel. So whenever you analyze something in the infinitive, the chirik anit lamed is a Tnuah Kala, but it's treated like a real vowel. It's treated like a true chirik and a shvanach now that follows. And now she gives us the verb to do. She does not mention it's a pay item. I do. And now you'll see why. If you don't mention it as a pay item, then you have the word is sold. Right? Lamed Hey, James on as a colon time. Add your lamed to it. You have a shva cluster. How are you going to break the shva cluster? With a chirik? She has it with a patach. Asot. And the lamed takes on the sound of the ah, and la'asot is the final word. That's because it is a peyapo allusion. That's why I insist that you say it that way. La'asot has a patach anit lamed, has a hatat patach anit ayin. It has what? It has secondary opening, first of all. Right? There's no shvanach there. And that's only because it is not just strictly lamed hey, it's also a peyapo laryngeal. Let's take another peyapo laryngeal. The word to stand. The word to stand in Hebrew. The shoresh is ayin mem dalet. This isn't a lamed hey verb at all. It has an original letter, so you identify its Gizra as Peah Poal Ayin, Pei Ayin. The infinitive should be something like this, but the infinitive will have a Chatapata instead of a Shvana. The Lamed comes along, Shva cluster, takes over the sound of the Chatapata, and becomes La Amud. La Amud. And that's true of any Peah Poal Ayin verb. The Chatapata will be found underneath the Pei Ayin. Okay, the other way of studying this is just to analyze what you see here, but try to understand there is logic behind why it's lakasot, for example, and not lisot or something of that nature. Okay, I'm now looking now at her example, the Oseh, the Osah, the Oseh Osot, and the last alternative. I'm looking now at the examples of page 67. Hakid Oseh Babak. You can do this already, so let me do this reading right now. Ma'apakid Oseh Babak. Again, what you see there unvocalized, how do I know it's Oseh and not Osah? Again, the so-called verb modifies the subject. The subject, Pakid, becomes masculine, and so it's Oseh, not Osah.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is page 65.
We're looking at page 67 of our book.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Next example, Marina. Rina is feminine singular. Osaba Sifriya. Now, why do they say Basifriya and not Bisifriya? Look at the English. It says in the library. Here's a good example. Unvocalized Hebrew, you cannot tell me whether it's Bisifriya or Basifriya. Let's work on that on the board a little bit. Somehow this thing sounds familiar, but it's good to repeat it for you. The word for library in Hebrew, Sifriya. Notice the spelling of the word. Notice what you should be doing mentally right now is syllabicate in your head. Sifriya has 3 syllables. Syllable number 1 is the samech, the short vowel chirik, closed by the shva. Underneath the next letter is the giveaway. A shva under a letter that follows a short vowel, unless there's a dagesh in that letter, is a shvanach. Second syllable has the resh, but be very careful that chirik is closed by a dagesh in that yud. Do not assume that chirik is a long chirik. A long chirik looks the same thing as this one, but this guy here has a dot in the yud, which tells me it's a short chirik doubling the yud. So it's CVC, CVC, the yud is doubled, CV, and the last letter hey, you always put in brackets, telling me that the hey is not a real consonant, it's a vowel marker. And that word sifriya is related to the word sefer, right? The word for book. And the word for librarian, masculine, is safran.
Sefer book.
And safran has the same vocalization as Kazlan.
Oh, Sefarim.
So words that have this combination, a patach shvanach, a kamatz, the final letter, deal something with repetitive work habit, a profession. Safran is librarian, a gazlan is a thief. I'm just doing a lot of repetition for you right now, but it's good to see this. And then if you want to get religious about it, that word sifriya has a yud kamatse at the end. Words that end with yah. Think of hallelujah. Have some kind of association with the Lord. And if that's so, then you are the generation that has now lost it. You don't use libraries anymore. But Professor Abe Garber, what the hell does Sifriya have to do with Hashem? Do you know what your first libraries were consisted of? The manuscripts were nothing more than the Torah. Put my name by that statement. Our claims that the first libraries of Jewish tradition was libraries of prayer books, Chumashim, printed books of the Bible, or even before that, the scrolls of the Bible. The Dead Sea Scrolls is a classic example. Maybe for that reason, you got everything there with Sifri. Maybe for that reason, you have the word called the Safran. Aha! Another word, Safran. A Safran, a Safran, a Safran. A Safran is a scribe.
Safran.
Safran, Gazlan.
Gazlan. What's a Gazlan?
A Safran is a scribe.
Oh, thief. Okay. Thief. Saf.
Well, you know him as a sofer. You know him as a sofer, but I guess what I'm trying to say now is sofer and safran are identical words. Again, a type of profession. But in the case of safran, let me just make sure you don't get confused right now. The sofer is a scribe. The safran today, sorry about that, is a librarian. We use the word safran today for librarian. But one who deals with books, the sofer, is the one that wrote these books, these manuscripts, who counted the letters as they were written from the Holy Spirit for the Torah. So the word to count, the word for all those words that have the same root are somehow related. That's all I'm trying to say.
All right, time for book number 2 for Hebrew 2. I finished the first one. I get these for like 80 cents. Can you believe it? And they're like excellent. They don't fall apart. And I finished my first semester.
I'm not quite hearing you well, but you're doing a break to show me that.
Okay.
Might be right. You need to really go further with this thing here. All right, let me go on with the example here. In the case of okay, the body is Sifriya. Okay, the word Sifriya. Let's just take the word that she gives it, Sifriya, and then let's understand why I translated, why I did the Hebrew as Bas Sifriya, not Bis Sifriya. Just playing with that word Sifriya itself. The bet letter is normally pointed like the Lamed letter with a Shana under. If I had the vocalization in front of me and read as Bis Sifriya, and the translation means in a library, in a. Hebrew does not have a word for a or an. The indefinite article does not exist in Hebrew. But I look at the English, it says at the library. That means that the word Sifriya is definite with a hey ayadiyah, the definite article, the ha with a patah, the gesh hazak and the samach. The bet comes along and strikes out the hey and takes over its vowel. So the reading Bas Sifriya means in the library, Bis Sifriya means in a library. I'm looking at her English. I can't tell whether it's be or ba by Hebrew alone, but the English has in the, so it's Bas Sifriya. And then Ma Timosim, what are you doing, Bakonoa? Again, why do I say Bakonoa, not Bikonoa? I look at the English, at the, so Konoa is movies, Ha-Konoa is the movies, the bet comes along, strikes out the hay, Bakonoa. Next semester you'll learn the definite article and the Bakal letters together. That's not introduced yet here. And then the word atem. Atem is masculine singular. If I look at the English itself, what are you doing at the movies? I can translate the word you as a singular, as masculine, as plural, as masculine or feminine. That English word you by itself can be singular, plural, male or female. The Hebrew makes a distinction. Ata, at, atem, and atem. The atem word is used, that's how she sees the word you as a plural. And then she shows the combination. She says, note the differences between the Gizrat, okay, Gizrat Shleimim and Gizrat Lamed Hey. Why does Mrs. Kaufman use the word Gizrat? Why does she not use the word Gizrat? Do you understand what she's doing? She's teaching us the way she teaches her students. Her students no doubt got an explanation of why the word Gizrat is used. I don't see that explanation here at all. So I'm gonna give it to you. If you're gonna use the word Gizrat, this is the absolute of the word. If you use it with a definite article, like Gizrat, this is the definite state of the noun. And then the third state is a construct. Family of, and the Kamatse reduces to the Patata. The Patata replaces the Kamatse. That is the sign of the construct form of the word. Every noun has three states: absolute, definite, and construct. Gizrat, family of. Gizrat Shlegim, the family of Shlegim. Gizrat Lamehe, the family of Lamehe. That's what she means by Gizrat. Not explained at all, but she uses it in her description here. And she shows a comparison. And then she talks about it. The Gizrat Lamed, the final He, the singular is silent. The feminine singular form is Kamatse, and so it goes on and on. Okay, then you have two other Lamed verbs. The verb to want, resh sabihe, sen, rot sam, rot sim, rot sot, and then the Kamatse becomes kolom tam. The Lamed makes a spot plus with a period. There's no pair Paul original, so it's not sot. The Hirik again is quoted to Noah Kala, a light vowel. Shintake is a verb to drink, is a Lamed He. Shoteh, Shotah, Shotim, Shotot. And then look at the word Lishtot. Do you see how she writes Lishtot? Do you see a dagesh in that tav? How
Yeah.
come she doesn't put a dagesh in the tav with Shoteh, Shotah, Shotim, Shotot? That's where your knowledge of Islamication comes in right now. In the case of Shoteh, the tav is following a vowel. It therefore is not plosive. In the case of Lishtot, the tav is following a knock. That's why the dagesh is in that tav. But when you speak Hebrew, you say shoteh, shotah, lishot, you say the same sound for the top letter. That's Spartic Hebrew. Spartic Hebrew no longer makes distinctions of the top with a dagesh and the top without the dagesh. The Ashkenazim do. They would say ani shoseh Hebrew, ani shoseh Coca-Cola. If they say it that way anymore. Sounds strange to my ears. All right, before you have your Hafsakah, the three examples that are found on page 67, I read, who wrote seh, who said. He wants and he does. Can you identify with that verb? You want something? Are you going to do something about it? You want your A? Are you going to work at it? Are you? Yes or no? That's what you got to deal with. On the other hand, the word rotzeh, Eli, is not as strong as chafetz. Ani chafetz, I really want it.
You get what you put into it. If you put in a lot of effort, then you get it. Look at Hannah. You put a lot of effort into the class and it shows. And you don't even
Stop
speak
it
Hebrew.
right there. My friend Baruch gets my mind going. There is a famous phrase. You got one today with Akiva saying the complete Shema. Have your attention. There's another phrase. Can I have your attention, please? In Tirtzu. The word is a verb want. Resh Sabiyeh. Im is the word if. Tirtzu is the future. In Tirtzu. Ein Zu. In Tirtzu Ein Zu Akada. If you really want something, it's not fabrication. Not the routine we want, folks. All right, people, I think I'll break it right now. When you come back, we'll try to do at least another page or so. And then if you look at page 67 on top, you have three phrases. What is the clerk doing in the bank? And what is Rita doing in the library, the movies, etc. And the phraseology, what I read before the break, I guess, was Ma Hapakido said, Ma Ema Rina Osaba Sifria, and Ma Temo Simba Konoa. It never dawned on me of the vocalization of the word ma, and kind of basic, ask me some questions about that word. So let me go over this with you right now. On page 67, the unvocalized Hebrew, I read it as ma, 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 ma. And the question is, the vocalization, is it with a patach, is it with a medial kamatz, how would I know the difference, etc. This is where vocalized Hebrew is necessary to first learn the grammar, and then from there, you can drop out the vowels. So as I look at the word ma, let me give you the three principles that govern that word. The three principles are essentially the same as the words for the definite article. So let's go back a moment or two. The normal pointing of the definite article is the letter hey with a patach underneath it, and the next letter takes a dagesh chazak. That's terribly important. The hey letter has a patach under it. The next letter has a dagesh chazak to close the short patach underneath the hey. Second observation. The definite article is pointed with a kamatz. Is pointed with a kamatz. If the next letter, aleph, ayin, hey, chet, and the letter resh cannot be doubled, these are the 5 letters that do not receive dagesh chazak. So the patach is now increased to a medial kamatz to avoid the phenomenon of a closed syllable. Otherwise, it has to be closed. And then the third principle, the hey is pointed with a segod if the laryngeal letter, aleph, ayin, hey, chet, and the letter resh have a medial kamatz under it. If they have a medial kamatz under it, then the hey letter is pointed with a segod. These are the 3 principles of the definite article. What does that have to do with the word ma? The word ma follows the identical rules of the definite article. The word ma is the word what. The definite article is the word the. But if the word ma, which looks like an independent word, it's written independently, and the syllabication is CV with a C in brackets. But the word is never seen on its own. It's seen as the first syllable of the word that follows, even though it's not written with the word that follows. It's written separately. So the patach letter, if the word that follows, could take a dagesh chazak. A medial kamatz underneath that mem, if the patach, if the letter that follows is laryngeal and cannot take a dagesh chazak. Just like you have with the definite article. And then the ma word would be pointed as a segod if the next word begins with a laryngeal letter, such as a het letter, and has under it a medial kamatz. Meaning what? If the next word is laryngeal, medial kamatz under it, the mem letter gets pointed with a segod, and the word what is new is not ma chadash, but me chadash. Mechadash, what's new? Again, it could be any laryngeal letter with a medial kamatz under it. Okay, that's basically it. Okay, let's get back to the Hebrew which we're in right now. There's more that can be said, I'm sure, but not at this point. I think we covered a lot already. Okay, I did already to the bottom of page 67, and then on top of page 68, that we had the break. Let me read those 3 examples. Dan shoten, kafe, and then I look at that word, baboker. Is it in the morning or in a morning? Again, the Hebrew doesn't tell me. The English does. So because it says in the morning, I go with baboker, not bid boker or bid boker. Okay, let's stop there. Look at the spelling boker. See what she does? She puts a comma there at the letter bet. That's far across. The actual spelling of the word vocalization. The word morning in Hebrew is properly spelled this way with vowels. And this is a whole learning procedure. That's why we spent a whole semester, it seems, on Slavication. This is the proper spelling of the word boker, or the Mida Cholam. You also will notice that the Mida Cholam is always active. You also will notice that it's a singular noun. Now, writing that word boker without vowels is spelled with a vav. How come? If you spell it without the vav, then what you get is something like that. It can easily be read as Bachar. Or it can be read as be care. Be care, he visited us and once gave you a class. So be care is vocalized it's without vowels. When you root, boker is vocalized with a vav. To create the osa. And then if you don't have neither the use or the vav, you have the word for cattle, Bachar. That's how it's done. And then the word in the morning. How would I know it's in the morning? I don't. But since it says in English in the morning, then this is how the Hebrew goes. You have the word boker, means in a morning. If I wanted to say in a morning, it would be the letter bet, shvana, drop the dagesh cow, and the letter bet, the second bet. Biv voker. Biv voker means in a morning. I'm saying in the morning, so the word is boker. I add a definite article, the pata. Dagesh now is a hazak dagesh, strong dot, haboker. The bet comes along, strikes out the hay, takes over the vowel. Bob boker. Bob boker is in the morning. Biv voker is in a morning. And I had no hesitation to read the word as Bob boker because my eye looked at the English as well. So dan shoter, kafe, ba boker. And root is feminine, says number 5, so it will be shota. But look at the spelling of shoter and shota. They both are spelled the same way without vowels. With vowels, the masculine has a sego underneath the top, and the feminine has a kamatz. In the case of Ruth, she doesn't drink coffee, she drinks Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola.
You're on 67 or what page? I'm trying to.
68.
Oh, thank you.
Coca-Cola. And the question is, why does Mrs. Coffin use shoter, or shota in this case, Coca-Cola? My understanding is back when Israel was founded as a state, Pepsi-Cola would have been a rival to Coca-Cola, but Pepsi-Cola sold its soda to the Arab world. Jordan, Lebanon, who knows what. With the understanding, you don't deal with the Jews. So Pepsi never sold its Pepsi-Cola to the state of Israel. Coca-Cola was not stupid. They came in with their cola, and so everybody knows that cola drink to be not Pepsi, but Coca. Today it's different. Back in the day, and if you want an example today, one of your favorite ice creams is Haagen-Dazs, but there's another one called with the two names. Help me with that one.
Dairy Queen.
Again?
Dairy Queen.
Again?
No. Haagen-Dazs. Haagen-Dazs. What's it called?
What's the other company? It has two names to it. The names of people.
Johnson
Tom
Johnson.
And Jerry.
Again?
Tom and Jerry?
Tom and Jerry's?
Ben and Jerry's.
Ben and Jerry. I said Tom.
They'll help me. What's the
It's
name?
Ben and Jerry's.
Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, Ben and Jerry's. All right,
Ben and
Uriel, you'll like this one. Ben and Jerry's are two Jewish boys out of somewhere, Minnesota, somewhere, whatever, and both of them have a problem with the state of Israel, given the Gaza situation, etc. And as a result, they got exercised. They sold in Israel, and then all of a sudden, they weren't going to sell in the West Bank. That was it. And as long as you can sell their ice cream, Ben and Jerry's in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, that's maybe Jerusalem's a problem. But somehow it became an issue when it came to other parts of the shtachim, of the borders and of the settlements, and so it was a big problem. So you gotta figure this one out. If Ben and Jerry are part of the tribe, what the hell's wrong with them? Furthermore, what's got to do with them being, American Jews? This is Israel we're talking about. You got to sell the country, and then you have people in the West Bank who happen to be Arabs as well, and they can't buy your ice cream either. Now it's a little different, I think, with one of the two brothers, basically, families having a problem. Again, I look at the English. In the library, it's Basifria. In a library, Bisifria. And then that word lo shotim. All right, let me say something about that word lo. It's very important that you hear it from me right now. That word lo is used with verbs. That word lo is used with verbs. Whether the verb is in the past tense, in the future tense, it's the infinitive. Your famous 10 Commandments, the assertion they brought, would have lo tirtzach, lo this and lo that. You shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not grudge, this type of thing. The word ain, on the other hand, is the negative used with so-called nouns. Proper Hebrew, by that I mean academic, straightforward Hebrew, does not use lo with the verb in the present tense. I don't drink coffee. Eineni shoteh kafeh. You use the word ein, happens to be, there's a declension of that word ein to eineni. You don't know that yet. But eineni is the same thing as saying ein ani. Ein ani shoteh. Ein ani kotev. Eineni kotev you read. Eineni shomai. I don't hear Hebrew. You don't say I need lo shomai. You don't say I need lo shoteh. You don't say I need lo kotev. You don't say I need lo roteh. It's the word ain. Ain is used with nouns. Lo is used with verbs. So the Garber method is, why don't we use lo with the present tense? Because the present tense doesn't exist in Hebrew. So why is Edna Confident using lo? She makes a statement somewhere here where she says, this is the way we do it now in Israel. Let me make that point very strong. Israeli Hebrew has now invented the present tense. Biblical Hebrew does not know about it. It doesn't exist in the language. And that's one of the dilemmas of beginning Hebrew that hardly any instructor teaches. This class is an exception. And that's what I have to say here because she's using that word lo. Proper Hebrew, we a lo shotim, a nam shotim. In other words, you take that word a and you decline it. You decline a noun. A nam means they are not. So a nam shoteh. Or shotim in the plural here. Anyway, she uses that word lo as if this word shotim is a true verb, and so let it be. A lo shotim, a nam shotim, kafeh basifriya. All right, now the exercises. Ma rivka osapa hadasa. You're now going to fill in the exercises, and that word ma. Again, where my two friends just walked in, we went over the vocalization of the word ma. The word ma is vocalized the same way as the he and the ya. So why am I making that point again? If I ask you to vocalize that sentence, ma rivka, she vocalizes that word rivka for you. She doesn't put the vowels under the word ma. Most students will write a pata under the mem. That's how it's introduced in the dictionary. But ma has two other spellings. It's spelled with a medium kamatz if the word that follows cannot take a dagesh chazak. The letter resh and the four originals do not get doubled. The mem letter would therefore have a kamatz. Ma rivka with a kamatz under the mem, not a pata. Osa v'hadasa. And that word hadasa, let's have again a repetition. The hospital name is pronounced Hadassah. The proper name is Hadassah. Hit the first syllable for the personal name. Hit the second syllable for the hospital. And I suspect when the hospital got its name, it's because it made a distinction with the name Hadassah, found only once in the Bible, in the book of Esther and the name of Esther before she became that name, Esther, Astarte. And then when you think of the word Hadassah, let me show you what good old Hannah was asking me during the break. How would you know what vowels to use? If I say Hadassah to you, I hear an ah. Do I write the same kamatz, the same pata? That's where Hebrew with vocalization is so important. The word Hadassah is spelled as you see it on the board. I got 3 ah sounds. The chatapata, the kamatz, and the kamatz. Now I notice it's a chatapata, so it's C ayin. You understand that? The chatafim follow the rules of Shvana. C ayin CV is the first syllable. It's a 2-syllable word. It's not 3 syllables at all. The kamatz is an open syllable. No dagesh hazak, no Shvana. So C ayin CV with a medium kamatz. And CV with a C in brackets is your second syllable.
What's the second letter? It's a, that's a dalet?
That's a dalet.
Hatzacha?
Dalet with a kamatz under it, Hadassah.
Oh, Hadassah.
Hadassah is a very pretty name. It's a very, well, was a common name. It probably still is. My sister's name is Esther. I don't think Esther ever had the name Hadassah. Esther is so common now. It's as though we're Jewish. It's really not a Jewish name at all, Esther. Yes.
Is Hadass, is that the Yiddish?
Hadass?
Hadass, because in Yentl, the girl that Mandy Patinkin is trying to marry in Yentl is named Hadass. And it's their Yid, they speak
Is
Yiddish.
it film Yentl?
Mhm.
It's possible. I know that film somewhat. I don't know it well.
That's what Barbara Streisand?
You should rewatch
Yeah,
it.
that's what Barbara Streisand. The one who served as the Jewish advisor to that film, Chaim Felder-Seeler, he was a Hillel director for many years at UCLA.
Oh yeah, no, that guy right there, check it out. No, he's probably there. That guy is the only Hillel director in all the California Hillels that built an institution and stayed in the position for about 30 years. They bought a property in front of UCLA. I went to UCLA. So I saw him build the property and built they started at the center at the end, which was like a lot of religions, the Hillel Community Center. Then they went up the street and they built it like in front of the administration on the other side. He bought a property, the property was probably $5 million and the structure was another $2 million.
You talking about his own property now?
No, I mean, he bought a property for Hillel. He's probably got some investment in him because he knew where to get the...
I know Chaim. He's a graduate from Yeshiva University. His orthodoxy went more or less to the left wing, so to speak. He's retired now. He's now serving.
Hey, he's happily married too.
Yeah, no, he's an interesting man. I knew, well, back in the day, there was another Hillel director, Rabbi Fishman, if I remember the name anymore, and Chaim came aboard. Anyway, he's now, as a retired person, he's active. He's a tour leader with some tour that deals with Jewish places around the world.
But he built that place up where he got like a whole staff of rabbis functioning and operating. So he did leave a functioning institution at UCLA.
Could be. Anyway, why I mention his name now, I don't know. But anyway, let me just go on now. Okay, back to the word Hadassah and Hadassah. Okay, as we now look at the names itself, I'm looking at page 68. I don't want to lose my place here. And we have the reading of Mar Rivka Osa, and then Machir Seba Hadassah. And now we're going to ask Hannah to continue filling in. She's going to pick up with the word Esther. Go ahead.
Mahu ose behadasa.
3B.
Okay.
Esther.
You know, what you do is read, you have Esther Rivka, so read Ma Esther
Esther.
Rivka.
Ma Esther osa behadasa. Esther verivka, sorry. Ma Esther varivka.
That's better.
Varivka osot behadasa.
That's better. Ma Esther Verivka Osod Bahadasa.
Ma Rivka varun osim behadasa.
Okay, stop it right there. The word Veron, I guess, is the accepted way of saying it, when you learn the Vav letter with me, I think I did some of it already with you, but the proper rule, let's use that terminology, of the Vav letter, normally pointed with a Shvanah, but if it's affixed to a word that has the accent on the first syllable, and the Vav is pointed with a Kamatz. The classic example of that is a place called Yad, hand, and Vashem. The official name of the archives in Israel and Jerusalem, which records the tragedy of the Shoah, etc., Yad Vashem. And let me just say something about Yad Vashem right now. The two words come from the book of Isaiah. Secondly, the German president, I think he is now visiting Jerusalem. I was there this past couple of days, and one of the places they took him to is the Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. And then when I get home this afternoon or tomorrow, God willing, I'm going to send you a link. The link was put together by some individual. He could well have been a former student of mine. The name is very familiar, which lists all the righteous Gentiles, all non-Jews who went out of their way to help and save Jews during the Shoah. Israel's Yad Vashem recognizes the righteous of the nations, but there are countless others who have to be included. Including a Nazi official, formerly a lawyer, became part of the Nazi command, saw the tragedy, and clandestinely slaved Jews after Jews with his German official uniform on. Eventually he was discovered. I think the Nazis hung him, or maybe he was put to death, I think. But he was a remarkable Nazi. He just simply said, this must stop. You know who he was from the Nazi party. Anyway, the righteous Gentiles. I'll send you the link if you have an interest, and has connections with all kinds of links of righteous Gentiles.
That's what Yad Vashem means?
How's that?
Yad Vashem means righteous?
Yeah, basically the records come not just from Yad Vashem, they come from places that Yad Vashem saw us to investigate, including Mexico, by the way. The Mexican official basically back in the 1940s saved Jews. Who even knew that? It's amazing where they come from, for those who did make their effort to save Jews, and certainly recognized, as it said, the righteousness of the nations. Anyway, but the name of the place is Yad Vashem. I always think of Yad Vashem when I see a name like Rivka. Do I say Vimron? I say Varon. If I'm not mistaken, Mrs. Coffin goes with Viro. Again, why is she breaking the rule? It's Israeli, secular Hebrew somehow that has taken over in her presentation here. I'm more academic when it comes to the tradition of localization, and we'll say more about it when she introduces the Vav as a grammatical point later in her text. Anyway, continue, Hannah. Why don't you read the same thing again?
ما عطا
No,
أوسد
go back to Rivka and Ron.
ريفكا وارون ما ريفكا وارون أوسيم بهدسا
Continue.
ما عطا أوسد بهدسا.
All right, you went with Osa, and then you went with Oseh. Going with Osa makes sense because the word is with Kamatseh. However, Kamatseh, not all Kamatseh endings are necessarily feminine. Ata happens to be a subject pronoun which has the feminine ending, but it is masculine. And the masculine is the masculine looking you, the singular at, is a feminine word. So go figure that out. Continue.
ما حرف أوسد بهدسا.
All right, if you read it as Harofeh, you get away with it. But does it say Harofeh in the text?
حرف آ sorry ما حرف أوسا بهدسا.
Good, you read it as Harofe'ah. You read it properly. You made sure you sounded the Shvana Nitafeh Harofe'ah. And what's on nitahe? Is there a patak on nitahe, or is there a kamatz on nitahe, or is there a sego on nitahe?
Haruf
Doctor,
commas.
thank you.
Comments is just the line, right?
Comments if the next letter, if the word does not take a dagesh out. That includes the four originals and the letter resh. I did that with Hannah because we spent part of the break going over this with her personally. Good, Ma'aruf, Sabachadasa. And finally, Hannah, finish it all up.
Ma, uri, vedani, osim behadasa.
That's it. Uri and Dani Osim, because Uri and Dani has one masculine, so all you need, you go masculine with the verb. Not to let it go alone. Go ahead, Mr. Baruch, the next exercise.
Okay. Would רוצה לעובד בממשלה?
Okay. Ron רוצה לעבוד בממשלה. Continue.
Okay. גליה רצון לעובד בממשלה.
1 second.
גליה?
Is it רוצה?
Oh, רוצה.
Feminine. Daya is going to come and say, chance out the feminine name.
Right.
Daya רוצה.
Okay.
What about the infinitive?
רוצה? I don't know. I don't know what the infinitive would be.
Daya wants to work. How do you translate to work?
Okay. Two is בעבודות.
That's right. The infinitive does not change. Let me make that clear to everybody. The infinitive stays the same, singular, plural, male, female, past tense, future, whatever. That word does not change. It's the forms of the present and the so-called present, the past and future that will change depending upon gender and number. So, continue, Baruch.
Ron Vegalia. That's a feminine name, isn't it?
Ron Vegaya, go ahead.
Ron and Vegalia. רוצים
That's it.
לעבודות בממשלה?
Why lavodot?
It just feels like it. לעבודה was correct?
The word is infinitive. Ron Vegaya. Whoa, first of all, you missed the word rotzim.
Oh,
Sorry
okay.
about that. Ron Vegaya. Is it going to be rotzim or rotzot?
רוצים, because it's male and
Okay,
female.
then rotzim, and then continue.
לעבודים בממשלה.
Why lavodim? Lavod, the infinitive stays the same.
Oh, okay, לעבוד.
It doesn't take on the gender.
Oh, okay, לעבוד בממשלה.
Okay, Levana, continue. The word on 10.
A 10, yeah. A 10, yeah, it's multiple. Rotzot.
Continues to read. I said rotzot.
How do you say government again? Mamshala.
All right, give me the whole sentence again.
Okay. A 10, Rotzot le'avod, what is it again?
Go ahead, lavod. Levana.
I'm asking how to pronounce it to Ellie.
בממשלה, the government.
Memshala. Memshala. Okay.
Mamshala, okay.
Continue, Levana. I want you to do it completely without any hesitation.
Okay.
Come on.
A 10, Rotzim
Continue.
le'avod b'mamshala.
Next one.
At Rotsa
That's right. At this one.
le'avod b'mamshala.
I take the last one.
Okay. Harufim, Rofeim, Rotzim le'avod b'mamshala.
All right, Mr. Eli, continue the next exercise.
היא רוצה לעבוד בממשלה.
No, the next exercise. Rivka Shota.
רבקה שותה קפה.
A little louder so we all can hear you.
רבקה שותה קפה. רבקה is drinking coffee. רבקה drinks coffee. רבקה שותה again. רבקה שותה
Read
קפה.
it. That's right. Read it again. Rivka Shota Cafe.
רבקה שותה קפה.
Next word. Go ahead. Anachnu.
אנחנו שותים בירה. We're
Continue.
drinking beer. Okay, continue. הן שותות תה.
Good. That word is tea, so tea in Hebrew. Take one more.
אורי שותה קוקה קולה.
That's it. With that said, Jeremiah, take on the next one. He,
It would be 3B, the substitution of that to begin at the beginning. So he would be here on the bottom of 68, and it would be,
Wait, the bottom here?
do you have a different volume right here? Let me see what you got here.
Oh, 68.
Yeah, yeah. 68, so here it's 3B, 2, 3.
All right,
So
what's
you
the-
begin with he, and then you begin with this one here, look. Check it out, don't look at that one, then look at this. Begin with this one, and then start substituting it from there, then go down this list.
Jeremiah, could you, are you able to do it?
No. I thought that was in the right.
Hillel, can you try? He, she drinks. He show what? Is it show tell, show top?
3B, number
Mark,
2.
I don't hear him. Hillel,
He showed top.
that's it. He show top what? Say for,
He showed top cafe.
Okay, take the next one.
This is the word that you replace right here. So this replaces this replaces this. So
Is it she or is
The next one is on 10. Do you see the word on 10?
Now he's at 10.
On 10.
It's you. Yeah, yeah. But don't worry what it is.
Show-
That's just the order that it's going in.
team cafe?
Yeah.
Just I know you have a choir over here. On 10, show team cafe. Let me hear read. Take the next one.
After our 10?
Yes.
The next one? Okay. This one
The name is Rena.
is, Rina showed top cafe.
Rena and who else? Who's?
Rina,
All right, Jeremiah, how would you read that name?
Is it Dahlia?
Dahlia. Okay, Rena and Dahlia. Back to you, Hillel. Rena and Dahlia, are they masculine? Are they feminine? Are they a mixture?
feminine?
Again?
Are they feminine?
Yes, so now give us the verb in the feminine.
Rina, Dahlia, showed cafe.
Show what? Is it show te, show ta?
Shota?
Shota is masculine.
Shota?
Shota.
Shota is feminine singular. There are two people here, so it's shotot.
Showed cafe.
And finally, Jeremiah, get you one out of you now. Uri,
Yuri, and that with Dani,
that's it.
Ravka,
Show, is it show team, show told, what?
Shota,
Show
Shotim,
Show team is better.
Okay,
Show
show
team is
team.
masculine plural.
Yuri, Dani, Shotim,
Coffee,
coffee, coffee,
cafe, cafe.
cafe.
Okay. All right, people, it's a little difficult for some of us, but try to do it orally at home. All right, on Thursday, I need to finish up this whole unit. I'll try not to go into too many tangents, otherwise you're gonna have the stuff on your own now. All right, we see everybody on Thursday, come back strong. I'll give you your assignment as well for the last one. And try to order your application, and you'll give it to me when you feel you wanna give it to me. That's how I conduct this class now. All right, people,